without further ado, let's jump into things because there is quite a bit of content we want to get through today. And, it's one that's pretty close to my heart, and you'll see why in a minute. It's not the most interesting topic, but it's the topic that's going to make you money. So, maybe that is what we're all here about. So let's find out what is going on. Now, the reason why it's close to my heart is that prior to being an Amazon seller, I was actually a chartered accountant. Some of you might have heard my story already, but I did that for almost 2 decades. I was a partner of my own firm. I had a team of accountants that I'd work with, and I know how many business owners, not just Amazon sellers, but business owners in general, completely overlook their numbers. So long as there's money in the bank, that's enough for some people. But by dialing into certain metrics and keeping your finger on the pulse and making slight improvements, consistent improvements, the change to the bottom line is phenomenal. I can't stress that enough. You really do need to know your numbers. And it can be exciting when you start to see those improvements rolling through. And yeah, it blew me away when I was working in as an accountant in public practice. These businesses that, they really had no idea there was so much opportunity and room for growth that they were missing out on. And it wasn't often until they went to sell their business or exit the business that they realized, the impact that has. Because if you're dialing into each level, each segment of your business, when you go to sell, it's just worth so much more. So, don't overlook it. I'm also, I'm in the trenches with you guys. I'm a multi-brand Amazon seller. I have a brand in Australia and 2 in the US. So, I'm dealing with the ins and outs of Amazon every day. So even if you're not a seller, I just want to stress this as well. If you're in the room and you're not a seller, don't worry. There's going to be heaps of takeaways from today that you can learn from. And obviously you're on that path. You're going to get to this stage. Knowing what you're going to learn today ahead of time is going to save you a lot of heartache. You're going to get it right from the outset. And I'm also, obviously, it was ZonGuru, been here for a couple of years. So that is my story. It's great to see all the familiar names. You can obviously hear and see me well, so that's good. Now, when you think of a business health check, you probably think of just the financials, which is fine. That's the basic stuff. We need to make sure that that's done. But if you're an Amazon seller, there's 3 other areas that you just have to look at as well. So there's actually 4 pieces to the puzzle: financial, advertising, inventory, and social proof. And when you get all of those firing, that's when you've got this great business happening. So I'm going to try and be a little bit technical here and drop a file into the chat. Hopefully that's working. Let me know if you can't see it. What this is basically your health check master sheet. So this is what you can refer back to help you with these 4 areas. There might be other things that you want to put on that sheet, and that's totally fine. That's up to you and your business. But that's going to be your starting point. And you'll notice on that sheet, it's divided into these 4 categories, and it's got different metrics that you really should be looking at to make sure you've got them covered. So if we start with the most basic one, if we start with the financials, let's jump in and take a look at what we should be looking at. And if you've got dual screens, brilliant. Open up that file. You can even start to fill it in as we go through today, and you might find some areas that you can improve on. And it can be confronting, especially the financial side of things. It can be a bit uncomfortable when you work out that, oh, maybe my cogs are a little bit too high, or maybe my price does need to be put up. They're uncomfortable truths, but the sooner we hear those and the sooner we take action on them, the better results you're going to get. After all, at the end of the day, we want more profit, more money in the bank, a bigger business value. This is what's going to help you get there. Awesome. So Scott, you've already got it. That's brilliant. Now, when you think of financial, what do you think of? Most people would think of, the number of sales, total revenue, what's my profit? And that's all in there, but there's a few others as well. So obviously you want to be checking how many units you're selling. Now, at the bottom here, you'll see, and it looks like it's cut off slightly, so I'll just read it out just in case. When should you be checking the financial data? And I'd say if you're launching, you want to be checking daily, weekly, preferably daily, just to make sure everything's on track. So how many items have I sold today? I'm in that honeymoon period. I've just launched a product. I want to know how many units I've sold, because you have that benchmark. Obviously, the aim of the game on Amazon is to rank organically. You're going to get more eyes on your listing, leads to more sales. So keeping a really close eye on that during your launch period, you're going to see, am I hitting that target? Am I hitting those sales goals? Or maybe I'm falling short. Maybe I need to, drive some more traffic. Now, if you're established, maybe you've been selling for 6 months, a year, you're pretty well set in. This is something I'd be checking every month. You can check it more often, but I wouldn't let it drag out too much longer than that, because if something happens, maybe your sales, your units are dipping and you don't realize, like it's just a slow decline. Maybe there's a competitor that's entered the space that you're just completely unaware of. You're coasting along, not realizing that your sales are slowly dropping off without you knowing. So yeah, if you're established, monthly. If you're during launch, daily, preferably. And then from items sold, obviously that's really easy to move on to revenue. What's your total income from those sales? And then your profit margin. Now this, to me, is one of the most important metrics, because it tells you, what's in your pocket, because you could make $1 million in sales a month, but if you don't have the profit left over, what's the point? And, the crazy thing is, you speak to some really big sellers, they're turning over the big numbers, their profit margins sometimes aren't there. I'd rather have a smaller business that makes bank, in my opinion. So, looking at that net profit margin is really important. And if you're looking at the worksheet that I've dropped into the chat, you'll see that there's actually a goal of greater than 25% in that box. That's what you should be aiming for. Of course, everyone's business is different. I've heard of people with profit margins in the 40 to 50%. And like I said, I've also heard of people with 0 to 5%, but 25 is going to create a really healthy business for you. So the next one down is obviously the net profit in dollar values. So that's, what cash is in your pocket, and then COGS. So the cost of your goods. And again, on that worksheet, you'll notice that there's a goalpost in there. You want it to be below 35%. Again, it can move around, but if your COGS are 40, 50%, there's not a lot of room in there after Amazon takes their fees out. If you have a small blowout in advertising, or maybe you're shipping or something like that, you're really going to feel it. So having a COGS below 35% is what we should be aiming for. If you're looking at that worksheet, and I'll just share my screen quickly so anyone who hasn't got it open can see exactly what I'm talking about. There's this goal column, and then your actuals. So for me, I'm about to launch a new product. What I would be doing is jumping in each day, and I'd have my goal. So how many items that I'm wanting to sell. And just a little tip with this, we actually give you in Keywords on Fire what that goal should be if you're wanting to get to page 1, how many units you need to sell to get to page 1 for the keyword. So I can quickly show you that. Actually, I'm going a little bit off track, but I really want to get value out to you guys. So in Keywords on Fire, and I'll just let this load. It can go a bit slow because I'm live. Let's take a look at the dog bed. Good old dog bed. It's always an example we use. So this column here, ZG launch. So this is going to tell me how many products I need to sell daily to get to page 1 for this keyword. So maybe this is my product, washable dog bed. I know that I need to sell 13 units a day to get to page 1. So that is what I would put in my goal here. And then I can check, have I met that? Or am I falling short? So that's really easy. And obviously the sales revenue, your goal is this times your sales price. You've got your margin, net profit, Really, really simple. And if you ever get stuck about where to find these metrics, underneath we've got it. Let me zoom in because it is a bit small. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit clearer. Just underneath, it's going to tell you where you can find all of these items. So there's no excuses. It's all there. And you can see if you're a ZonGuru user, it's all on your ZonGuru business dashboard. Really, really simple. So if I jump back into the tools and go to my business dashboard, I've obviously got the option to change the date range up here to suit. I can change the marketplace as well. So this is really handy if you're trying to track different launches, different products and new markets. Let me zoom in here as well. Just want to make sure you can all see. So maybe I'm doing a new launch in the US. I want it in US dollars, and I can simply select one product from my category, or I can look at all. So you can get really granular and do this analysis per product as well. But generally, I would do it per, for my business. So I'm just going to zoom back out there. And you can see it's telling me I've got my gross revenue, I've got my items sold, I've got my net margin. Everything is there. I don't need to go digging for it. It's really cool. Something that I do like about this business dashboard, and I don't know if many people are using it. Matthew's just asked, is the ZG launch the same as units? Yes, that's the number of units that you'd aim for. That's your goalpost. So super helpful metric. And it's for the particular keyword. So that's where you go, okay, this is the main buyer keyword that I am targeting. Let's go for it. But back to our business dashboard. Don't know if anyone uses this. Let me know if you do. You see all these red dots underneath? They're actual product pulse alerts. So that's telling me something's happened. So product pulse is really, that it keeps its eye on the Amazon listing page for you. So if anything changes, something like the bullets, the price, the dimensions, anything to do with your listing, it will pop up here with a little red dot. And it can tell a really interesting story for you when you put it together, because you can also do this for competitors. So just to help explain this, I can see revenue for this one here went up on the 14th of February. You can see this green line. This light green line is my previous period revenue. I can change what columns I want to look at here at any stage. So maybe I want to take that out. It's confusing, whatever it might be. But we can see with the revenue, all the ups and downs. A lot of these will correspond to product pulse events. So for example, I can see something really, it spiked here, something happened. And if I hover over it, I can see that there was a status change. Let's have a look. My ratings jumped up quite a lot. Maybe I got some great 5-star ratings in there. It gave me a ranking boost and explained why my sales went up. Likewise, I can see with my competitors that I'm tracking, they had a significant change in their ratings and reviews as well. So maybe they got a couple of low ones come through, which gave me more. So I'm in the demo version here. Try this out on your own because it is quite cool. You'll see, maybe your sales spike and you'll notice that your competitor put their price up, or maybe your sales dropped and your competitor got a high review. It tells a story. So that's something that's really cool on the dashboard that a lot of people don't realize that they have access to. But with the financials, there's definitely no excuse for keeping your finger on the pulse here. And of course, you can expand all of these out if you really want a granular look at what you're being charged by Amazon, because obviously there are so many different fees happening there. You can see, maybe you've got some long-term storage fees that's popping out that you're not aware of. You want to be moving that stock out, whether you discount it, maybe you send it somewhere else. That's a hefty fee you don't want to be paying. Maybe, and we'll get to this in a second, but you've got everything in there with your advertising, your refunds. It's all there to give you your net margin. And this demo account, that net margin is so solid. It's definitely the gold standard to work towards. So I'd be really happy if that was my one. Let me flick back to the actual slides. And I'm going to stop sharing that handout now because it sounds like everyone's got it. But if you do need it, just let me know. I'll start the presentation. All right. So the next one on our list is advertising. And I really want to give this enough airtime because Amazon's becoming increasingly pay to play, which means, there really is a lot of ads running on the search pages. It would be very difficult, especially in markets like the US, to launch a product without having advertising involved. But you can be really clever and strategic about it. It doesn't need to be something that is super, super costly. There are some clever ways to do it, but it's definitely something that you want to track. So these are the things that I would be recommending you look at. You've got things like the number of clicks. You want to know how many times people are clicking on your ad, the number of impressions, so how many times it's actually displaying. And they're two very different things because remember, Amazon advertising, it's called PPC, pay per click. You only pay when you get the click. So you might find that your ad is being displayed thousands of times, but if you're not getting the click, there's something not quite right there. Maybe you're not advertising in front of the right people. Maybe you're targeting the wrong keywords. Or maybe you're showing up tons of times, you're getting heaps of clicks, but no conversions. So maybe your pricing's a little bit off, or maybe there's something not quite right in your images. Something's putting them off at that point of sale. So you definitely want to be tracking these. Your click-through rate is a ratio of clicks to impressions, so the ratio of this, and your conversion rate is the number of orders versus clicks. So how many times are they actually converting to a sale? So this one here, super important, and you'll hear that being talked about a ton if you're listening to a lot of Amazon podcasts and in groups and things like that, because this is the crucial one. We want those conversions. The more money you make for Amazon, the more likely they are to show you, the bigger your business grows. It's all about that conversion. The other two really popular ones you'll hear is ACOS and ACOTS. This can sometimes be called TACOs as well, but it's essentially tracking how much you're spending on advertising, how much you spend on advertising per dollar of advertising revenue you make, and then how much you spend on advertising versus your entire sales, both organic and advertising sales. So these sound a little bit tricky to calculate, but they're not. They're done for you back on the business dashboard. So I'll show you that in a moment. Now, these screens, you have to bear with me. They're so tiny. This is actually, and we're getting really personal here, straight from my Seller Central login. And I just wanted to point out, to find this data is so simple. If you go to the advertising dashboard and Seller Central, there's a little button. If you follow the orange arrow you can see there, where you can actually format what columns you want to see. So a lot of people don't realize that you can change your layout and they just accept what's on the page. I urge you to click on that box, change the layout, and select the boxes that are important, because that's where you get to choose. I want to see impressions, clicks, click-through rates, spend, everything is there. So much information. So make sure you set that up, because it's going to be really helpful. And they bring out new ones all the time. It blows my mind how much Amazon and quickly it changes. So make sure you set up your Amazon dashboard right, because it's going to give you all those data points. And then once you've done that, you can see how easy it is to get the data to put into your health check worksheet. So I've already got here impressions, clicks, click-through rates, ACOS, all set up. So this is for one of my brands in the States. And the other thing you can do, let me flick back over to the dashboard. So we went through the financial data at the top. If you scroll down a little bit, you've also got your sales breakdown. And this is what I was talking about before with ACOS and ACOTS. So ACOS, so that's, you've got a breakdown between sponsored products and sponsored brand advertising as well, if you want to get really detailed. But you can see for this listing, 82% of their sales are coming from organic sources. So that's brilliant. 2.8% advertising versus total sales. Some people would argue that that's too low. It means they're not spending enough on advertising, because if they spent more on advertising, they would grow their sales. They're not investing enough there. There's obviously a really strong demand and niche here. if I jump over to the worksheet for advertising, you've got all the metrics that we just spoke about, and I've input a couple of goals here as well. So that advertising cost of sales, your goalpost usually will be to be between 15 and 20%. And advertising cost of total sales, you want it below 20%. For the demo that we've got here, I'd be saying that's too low. You'd probably want it, around that 10%. I'd be really happy with it there, but definitely below the 20. So again, you've got where you can find each of those metrics, go through and check these out. And the time frame for the advertising side of things is weekly. Definitely something that you should be looking at weekly. And what I personally do, bring up the slides again, is I get my search term report sent to me. Let me know if anyone is familiar with search term reports, but it's an automated report I've set up from Amazon that tells me what keywords people are using to find me, how I've performed. It's essentially from this advertising dashboard. As I'm doing that, I go through, I have a look if there's any keywords that I need to take out of my campaigns, any that I want to increase the spend on. Maybe there's one that's performing really well, throw some more budget against that. And I go through my goal and my actual for my advertising each week. And I do that whether it's a new launch or an existing product. I want to keep my finger on the pulse with advertising because it is an area that does move the needle. What I often find is that as my product gains more reviews, gains more traction, gets more rankings, maybe I want to dial back the spend a little bit. I don't want to just set and forget. I could be spending money that I don't need to. If I'm organically ranking on page 1, maybe I don't want to be advertising on that keyword. So check in each week, make sure that you've got it sorted. Now, that's just what we ran through. Same thing with the search term report. Inventory. Who's had inventory problems in the last couple of months? I know I've got a shipment on the way from the US at the moment, and every week I get a little notification saying we're sorry, but it's been delayed for 1 more week. It's the congestion at the ports is crazy. I feel like it is getting a little bit better, but inventory is a really tricky one. And then when it does get to Amazon, making sure that you're not paying more fees than what you have to. So a big one there is long-term storage fees. They're really going to hurt. And that's when you have stock there for more than 365 days. But then you've got your monthly storage fees as well. Amazon's not designed to be your warehouse. I know a lot of people think of it that way. When I first started selling in 2018, I never used a 3PL. All my stock just went to Amazon. That's just where it went. I didn't think anything of it. These days, I keep everything off-site and drip feed it in a just-in-time inventory model. Amazon loves that. They will reward you for doing that as well. It can take a little bit more planning on your side, but it will help with things like your IPI score, stands for your Inventory Performance Index score, I believe. But it's basically the metric Amazon uses to see how well you are at managing your stock. The higher that score, the more space they're going to give you, the more they're going to help you out. So you really want a score that's as high as possible. So I think they just changed the limit. So 400 is what you need to be above to get around inventory restrictions. But I'd be aiming for something a lot higher than that, 550 to 600 at least. You also want to check your in-stock rate. So Amazon hates it when you run out of stock. You hate it when you run out of stock, so it means you're not making money. You want to check how much time your stock has been available on the shelves, and of course the return rate. So return rates are huge depending on what category you're in, and it's basically Amazon's average is 10%, but it will change per category. So I used to sell some products in retail, clothing retail. That category is brutal. So 15% is the average there, because what you find is people will buy the same product in multiple sizes. They'll keep the one they like and then they'll send the others back. And obviously with that return stock, it's not sometimes in a quality that you can resell, makes it really difficult. So looping back round to picking the right product, choose one that's likely to have a low return rate, one that because it does cause a lot of heartache. And if you have returns that are too high, Amazon will flag your product. They will offer some suggestions for how to fix it. But if it still underperforms, it will actually be removed. You won't be able to sell it. So definitely something you don't want to miss out on. And where you find your inventory, on your inventory dashboard there on Sell Essential, this is the IPI index. Again, getting really personal. This is from mine. I did have, it is back, this is a snapshot from a while ago. My score, thankfully, is now back up to 600s, 650. The reason why mine dropped down is I had stock on the way to the US and it got held up at customs. They thought it was called a CET hold, means they think there might be guns or drugs being smuggled into the shipment. Of course, there wasn't, but that was a 3-month delay, which means my in-stock rate significantly dropped, which hurt my IPI score. So as planned as we all want to be, sometimes these things happen. But yeah, definitely something you want to check on. And I'd be doing inventory check-ins every fortnight. It's definitely, especially with returns. And this is from my own return screen as well on Amazon. You can check in with the FBA customer returns report. It's going to tell you when it came back, why it came back, if it's a sellable condition, maybe it's damaged. You can see here, one's customer damage, one's sellable and returned to inventory. And they'll often tell you why it was returned. Maybe it was the wrong size, or it was the wrong color, it didn't fit, it wasn't, whatever it might be. You'll find out there. And if you see consistent themes, that is beautiful feedback. Take it on board. Don't get upset by it. If you've got consistent returns coming back for the same reason, that's a really easy fix, something that you can get onto and put into play really quickly. Now, yeah, golden rule, absolutely golden rule. Feed the inventory into Amazon. Don't use Amazon as your main warehouse. So 1 month of stock is the gold standard. Sometimes you might find you got a little bit more or a little bit less, but you definitely don't want to be holding 3-6 months of stock at any point in time in there, because you'll just get charged too much. It will eat into your inventory. So if we jump over to our form, our worksheet, we've got here, our goal is definitely 0 for long-term storage fees. We don't want to be paying that. We want to be turning our inventory over. The more runs we can turn over in a year, the more profitable our business is. We've got inventory performance index score greater than 450. Like I said, I'd be aiming for much higher than that as well. In-stock rate, goal above 85%. If you can manage that, especially with the current shipping climate, you're doing pretty well. And return rate, and I'm being quite aggressive here, you want it below 5. Like I said, 10 is the average. It really depends on your selling category, but if you can maintain below 5, you're doing brilliant. And this is something people look at when they're buying Amazon businesses. I sold that first apparel brand, and this is definitely one of the very first questions I was asked: what's your return rate? And if you can confidently say my return rate is 5 or below, that's a huge tick. And you've also got, obviously, the stock on hand at each location. That falls into inventory. You just want to make sure that you've got sufficient stock there. You've got, again, all the different areas where you can find this information. I've even hyperlinked to where you can find them in Amazon Sell Essential. And if you're worried about maintaining your inventory levels, if I jump back into the ZonGuru platform, under My Products, you've got the option here, and I don't know if anyone uses this part either. I'm sure you're all entering in your COGS, which you just do by clicking on this little box. But you've got the option to put in the number of days that it takes to ship from the supplier, manufacturer, how much is in the 3PL warehouse, all your data points here. And what that does, and to update it, you just click on it, and it couldn't be easier, and update it here. What this information does is it then populates these reorder prompts. So if this was my real account, I'd be going, oh my gosh, okay, I need to reorder this one. I'm running really low. I've only got 3 days supply. And that's not going to cut it. So again, this one, 2 days of supply, they're running really, really low. And so as you check in each fortnight with your inventory, if you're just keeping an eye on this as well, you're going to be able to reorder on time. So yeah, really helpful there. Let me jump back. So that is inventory, which has just been the bane of many sellers' existence the last year or so. And moving on to social proof, this is something that is largely iconic to Amazon. You know, they're known for their social proof. You can really boost your rankings and your sales if you have a great amount of positive reviews on your listings. So if you can work to increase those, you'll actually notice, especially during that launch, if you get a 5-star rating, your rankings, you'll get a little ranking kick from that. So we definitely want to work on that. So checking in regularly to see how your reviews are going is really important, because likewise, if you get a negative one, you're going to see your rankings slip. You want to make sure that you catch any issues. So there can be a number of things there. Maybe there was a miscommunication with the buyer. Maybe they didn't realize something about your product. They didn't read the manual properly, then misunderstanding it. Take that feedback on board. Maybe you need to change your product inserts. Maybe your photos need to be updated, whatever it might be, but take that on board. And there's certain things you can do to help with your reviews. So just something to keep in mind. You've got product reviews and seller reviews or seller feedback. And if someone, and this often happens, leaves you seller feedback, but it's about your product, you can actually get that removed very quickly and very easily. So seller feedback is about your customer service. If you're fulfilling your orders yourself, you know, how quickly did it arrive, that sort of thing. So if somebody leaves low seller feedback and it's, you know, I wasn't happy with the product, there's a little button where you can report that. Amazon will instantly remove it. And it's really important to keep your seller feedback rating high, because that's part of your account health. Again, if you are selling your Amazon business and you're selling your Amazon Seller Essential account as part of that, they're going to care a lot about your seller feedback. So keep an eye on that. It's really easy to do. But of course, the main one that we all think about is your product ratings and product reviews. So this is between 1 and 5 stars. Obviously, 4 and 5 stars are the best. It's often a numbers game. So the amount of people that actually leave reviews on products for Amazon is super low. You know, you're looking, I think, on average at about 5%. If you have certain tools working for you, you can bump that up to around 10%. But you think how many products you need to move to get those numbers. You know, everyone is very precious. So yeah, really putting the tools to work, and I'll run through which ones will help with that. But during launch time, I would be checking this daily. Having product polls switched on so you're alerted when they come through will help you take action if you do get a low star review. Once you're more established, you can check it monthly, but I'd still have product polls running for these ones. And what you're aiming for is above a 4-star rating, both on your listing and seller feedback. It's going to make a big difference. But if I share my screen again. So in the ZonGuru tools, under, there's a couple actually. Let's start with the monitoring and alerts. Product Pulse, if we jump in here. So Product Pulse is the main alert tool. And let's have a look at our dog bed example again. Hopefully, if you're selling, you've got this set up. All you need to do is add your ASN at the top, select your marketplace and click add. And what it's going to do is give you your listing, and you can enter your competitors in here as well, and all the event changes that you can track. So you can see that there is a lot here. True story, on Friday, one of my products got reclassified as an adult product. It's not at all. But Amazon can go rogue and just change things on you. I've had them change my dimensions, my weight, my photos, my bullets, everything at different points in time. And if I didn't have Product Pulse on, I wouldn't know. And the reason why it's important to know is that these all affect your bottom line. So things like dimensions and weight change what fees you're paying to Amazon. And when your product is changed to an adult product, it's search suppressed and you can't run certain advertising campaigns. It's very difficult to get seen because obviously they think it's adult content, which is frustrating. But if you don't have the tool working for you, that can happen. You don't know why suddenly your sales have dipped. You need to have that switched on so you can take action straight away. You've got the option to turn on or off any that you do or don't want to see. So maybe some aren't important to you. You just untick them. And this show on graphs, that's where it's going to appear on your business dashboard. So if you don't, maybe you're only interested in, when the price changes or your reviews change, you can just switch those on. And that's totally fine. It's full control, up to you. So let's close that one down. And then to make sure that you are getting the reviews that you want, you've got 2 customer engagement tools here, Review Automator and Email Automator. Review Automator is an absolute no-brainer. It should be on for anyone who's selling. All you need to do is click that button and make sure your ZonGuru file is connected with Amazon, because what it's going to do is for all eligible orders, it's going to send a review request, and it uses Amazon's template. So it's always in accordance with terms of service, because Amazon's very, very picky about how you talk to your buyers, because Amazon considers your buyers their buyers. So just switch that on. I'm in a demo account now, so I can't do it, but it's literally a click of a button, and it's smart enough that it's going to skip any orders that are refunded or pending, or any reason why you might not get a 5-star review. It will skip it. So you're more likely to get those high ratings come through. The other tool we've got is Email Automator. Now, I wouldn't use this one to request reviews, which is a bit controversial because a lot of people do. I definitely wouldn't. I'd leave that to Review Automator. You are only allowed to request reviews once per sale. So what I do with Email Automator, and if you're on our training last week, we ran through this in detail, is using this to communicate with buyers, to add value. So in our demo account, we're selling yoga mats. I've said I'm going to, every time someone buys from me, send them an email with 15 easy yoga poses for beginners, just a little PDF handout that they can access. So it's just, a little spiel thanking them, and then an attachment with the yoga program. So I'm not asking anything from them. I'm not asking for a review. I'm simply creating engagement. I'm giving them something of value that would be helpful. And it doesn't really matter what your product is. I'm sure there's something there that you can add, whether it's an instruction manual, a warranty, a program, whatever it is, getting them excited about your product. So having all of that on is going to help you with this. So the number of ratings, what your goal is, and then, just making sure you're above that 4-star on each one is going to be super, super helpful. And I couldn't help myself, this walking through numbers and things like that can be a bit dry. These are actual reviews that people have left. Hopefully you can read them okay. They're both 5 stars. When you engage with your customers, when you give them value or make them laugh, or just create an outstanding product, they're going to want to share that. And these ones are hilarious. I'll let you read through them, but it's like, don't overlook once you've made the sale. Don't think you're done and dusted. Create that engagement with them, because if you release another product, or it's a product that you could potentially buy again, having that experience is going to boost your sales and have so many repeat customers. Now, with this is what I was talking about before with the seller feedback. So on every listing, so we've got our dog bed here, you can see who sells it. And again, forgive me, it's so small. And when you click on that, you can see the detailed seller information. So it's got their business name, a little bit about them. And you can see here, for this one, it's got 1 star. It's in a different language, so I can't read that one. Look at this one, no problems, items shipped earlier and scheduled, very happy. If this one was something about the product itself and I was the seller, there is a little button that is here that says report. All you do is click on it and Amazon will remove it within a couple of minutes usually. So check that out on your own listings today, because it's going to help everything. So that is me. We've been on fire for the last 45 minutes or so. So I've got 15 minutes. If you've got any questions, happy to help out, I'm sure. And I know there's some familiar names in here. You've got some really clever people in the room as well. And it doesn't need to be about today's topic, but if there is something that you want to ask or run through or demo or whatever it might be, I'd love you to share it. So now's your chance. So don't be shy. In the meantime, I'm going to switch these slides off. Go back to the chat. Otherwise, we have our training same time next week, 10 a.m. on Thursday. That one's going back to basics a little bit. It's more about product, finding those creative product ideas, because whether you're an existing seller or not, it's going to, you're constantly on the lookout on ways to grow your brand, expand your presence. Maybe you're interested in a new marketplace, whatever it might be. That one's going to be really fun because it's creative ways to find those new products. You've got all the tools at your disposal. Maybe you've found a great niche using those, but then how do you make it even better? How do you really help deliver on those pain points? That's awesome, Matthew. I hope to see you there. It sounds like we've got a really quiet room today. I'll give it a few more seconds because I know there can be a delay, but yeah, any questions at all, feel free to send them through. I know we've all been super busy this year, getting everything ready. 2022 is set to be a great year, I think, for a lot of sellers. Things slowly seem to be returning to normal. Hopefully we can, get right back into it. Thank you, Jane. Well, it looks like there's no questions, which, no dramas. If you do need anything in the meantime, support@zonguru.com is the easiest way to reach the team. We're always there, happy to help. And I hope you found it useful today.